Peace, family, peace, 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 peace. I hope you guys are having a lovely, phenomenal day. Do you value peace? That is the question for today. It's so funny because I will oftentimes say, I value peace, and on even in my journal, right, I would write down I'm peaceful and all these different things. And I'm gonna give you guys a story. Okay, when I first had my spiritual awakening, I remember being in a car with someone that is dear to my heart. And I remember as we was driving, and me and this person, we would gossip about people. We would gossip together about people. And every time I seen someone, right, I would critique them. And I didn't know these people from a milk cart and a can of paint. I didn't know them. But because I was not comfortable in my own skin, because I did not like my life. In fact, I didn't even really care for who I was. I didn't even know who I was, right? And I remember after having my spiritual awakening, and me and a person, we was in a car together, and as I was driving, I told the person, I said, I don't talk about people no more, right? And the reason being was because by me stepping into my authenticity, it allowed me and it showed me that being who you was created to be, it can be sometimes scary. Okay. And at that point, as I was more focused on doing the work on myself, I didn't care what the next person was doing or how they was living their lives and things like that, because to me it was like, focus on yourself and worry about what you got going on as opposed of what someone else has going on. That was one. And then the next thing was this, okay? The seeds that we tend to plant, oftentimes we think, oh, well, I'm just going to gossip about people. I'm just going to talk about people. And those seeds we are not going to reap the harvest. And that's not true, because whatever seeds we plant, we shall manifest the harvest of those seeds. So if it's gossip, right? Like, how could you have a peaceful life if you are toxic, if you are talking about everyone? Okay. Another thing is this, okay? And what gave me the idea of this video was I was watching Danny Morale the other day, who has Renew Center, I think it's called, in Dallas, where as though, he teach healing, and people go to, release trauma and everything like that. And I was watching Danny's podcast, a few days ago. And one of the things he talked about was peace. And do you what is one thing that you value? And when he said it, at first I said, Dina, what is it that you value? And then I started thinking and I said, I value peace. But then Danny then went on to proceed and said, well, if you value peace, do the environment that you currently live in, is there an indication of or a reflection of you valuing peace, right? So instantly I start thinking like, you know, and where I live at is is like quiet. You know, sometimes you hear the fire truck, whatever, but majority of the time is very, very quiet, right? And so, I started thinking about that, and then one another thing he said was, he said, if you value peace, the people in your life, like what type of people do you have in your life? And instantly I started thinking about this another person who I love. Okay, my son, my oldest son. Okay, and one of the things that I noticed was my oldest son, whenever he is growing through things, right? He constantly keep talking about the same exact thing, right? And at times it's like I don't want to hear it, right? And it's not, like, oh, from a place where, but at times I don't want to hear it because I am very mindful of the energies, right? And it's one thing, if my children come to me, and it's not like saying, oh, well, I want to hear my children issues or whatever. No, it's not that. My oldest son came to me a few days ago. Okay. Matter of fact, last week. And he was complaining about things that was going on in his life. Okay. And I gave him a list of things to do, right? Listen to personal development, meditate, go within, okay, be truthful with yourself, these things, and I noticed, one, I gave him the paper, he left the paper at my house. That was one. And then two, I told him to do these things, and then the next moment or a few hours later, when he would bring, the same issue up again, I would ask him, did you meditate yet? And he would say, no. And I would say, well, how are you going to get something different if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, right? And then it came a point in time where, as though I told him, I said, I don't want to keep hearing the same exact thing. What's going on in your life? You have to do something different. If you really desire for change to come into your life, you have to do something different. You have to become someone different. Okay. And the great news and the good news is, it does not have to be ginormous. It can be something small. But what I noticed within myself, if I'm being very transparent and honest, what I noticed was, okay, when he would come over, when my son would come over, right? Now, mind you, the paper that I gave him, the list of things, that he can do, and I only gave him the things that I've done, right? The things that has helped me and that is helping me on my journey. And so when he would come over, I would ask him questions pertaining to the toxicity. Right? And I'm laughing because, when you are aware of what you're doing, okay, then you can look at that and say, Dina, do you really value peace? Or do you value peace sometimes, right? Do you really value peace, or do you value toxicity sometimes, right? And the reason I said that was because, as I was telling him, he have to do this, he have to do that. And it would be times where, as though, like recently, prime example, him and I me and my oldest son went to New York, right? This past weekend. And today, by the way, it is Tuesday. Okay. Tuesday, July the 2nd. So the past weekend, we had went to New York, him and we had a great time, very, very great time. But one of the things that I noticed, and I noticed this is because I used to do this myself, okay? When someone would seem like they was in a very, very good mood, right? I had to take a look at what I call fun and how something, right, that it can be toxic. How do you really call that fun? And then, I have these chatters in my mind, okay, these different things, well, food can't be toxic, is all according to what you say it is, right? Like, food is just food, and, everything in life is meaningless, is the meaning that we give it. And so I start going through this whole thing back and forth and, things of that nature and stuff. And one of the things that I started asking Source for was guidance on my journey, especially on the new content that I'm going to start making more healthier. And I started asking for guidance. And why do I associate eating unhealthy as fun, right? And when I say eating unhealthy, I'm talking about like, the processed foods and stuff like that. And, I started thinking like, well, if I'm doing new content, healthier content, like who would want to watch that, right? And all of those are thoughts and they not real, okay? But I had that moment with myself just yesterday, okay? And so I said I was going to do this video to talk about peace. And, sometimes we say we value peace, but what we are doing oftentimes is not congruent to what we say we value, right? And it is not until we start being honest with ourselves and being truthful with ourselves that we would get different results, better results. And all the times that I wouldn't value peace, that I would want to engage into toxicity, whether that is eating certain foods or meddling in someone else's business, right? What I noticed was those times that I would do that was because I didn't have enough going on in my own life. Okay? So, hope you guys got something from this. Make sure you guys rocking out, believing in yourselves. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Make sure you guys comment, like, subscribe. Keep going, keep growing, and continuously believe in yourself. And I love you. Peace.